In today's episode, we have David Young, who is going to share with us how he built a $1.6 million course business in the drone industry. You will also get to hear how his course went from being a major flop to being a major success, why it's important to put the course out sooner and refine it as it grows, and how to leverage other people's audiences to sell your own online courses. And now, on with the show. Welcome to the Online Course Igniter podcast, where you'll hear from successful course creators and how they were able to turn their passion into a thriving online business empire. Hello, everyone. Thanks for checking out the podcast today. We have David Young from the Drone Launch Academy, and we're super excited to have you here today. David, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Jeremy.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited to have you. I always like to check out what people are doing, before we get on the podcast. And I was looking over your website, and it's just really beautifully made. It looks like the design and the thought process into the website is really well made. And you have your courses on here. It looks like you have some type of offer or lead magnet where you're collecting emails. And so I think this is going to be a real useful episode because we can talk about all these things that are on your website that are working for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to get into it.
Okay, cool. Before we start, let's go ahead and just hear a little bit about your history and your story. How did you get into online business and creating online courses?
Yeah, good question. I'm sure you always get lots of interesting stories here, but
They're great.
mine. I always wanted to be a pilot when I was a little kid, and so first I wanted to be a fighter pilot, and then I did a Civil Air Patrol. That's like ROTC for like high schoolers and like middle schoolers. I did that when I was like 12, and went to this boot camp thing that they had, and everybody's yelling at me and telling me what to do, and I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm cut out for this. So I changed. I said, all right, I'm going to be a commercial airline pilot. So then that's what I had my sights set on through high school. I applied to two good flight schools in Florida, where I'm from, Embry-Riddle and Florida Tech, or Florida Institute of Technology. They had a good flight program there. That's not like engineering school. Got accepted to both, but FIT offered me some extra scholarship money. So I'm like, cool, that sounds good. Let's go there. So I did that. And then my first year of flying airplanes, they're these like 1970s, like Piper 4-seater kind of airplanes. And they're very small inside. And I would learn pretty quickly, like, this is kind of claustrophobic being in this plane high up here. And, these planes are pretty old. And although the school did a good job of maintaining them, like stuff happens. Like one time I was turning and I looked and there was fuel spilling out of the wing because the seal wasn't done. One time we didn't close the door like tight enough. So like mid-flight, it just like pops open and starts flapping around. Papers are going everywhere. And I'm like freaking out, like, oh, we're going to die. And
man.
It was fine. My instructor was like, calm down. He just held the door shut with his hand, and we were like buckled in and stuff. It's not like we were pretty low. It's not like you're getting like sucked out of a small airplane or anything. But, but just those little things, I was like 17, 18 years old. I guess I was 18. And I don't know if I was mature enough to handle all that. So I was like, I finished up and got my pilot's license, and then I decided, I think I'm going to switch to do something on the ground. So I transferred to Florida State University, where some of my friends were. It was much cheaper to go there. FIT was like $40,000 a year or something, and did accounting and finance. So from there, I'm trying to keep these sections brief. From there, I ended up working at the FBI right out of college. They recruited from Florida State that year. Originally, I thought I was going to do banking stuff, but I ended up going to the FBI doing, at first, some internal like budgeting and financial projections, things like that. And so I had my pilot's license, even though I didn't really love to fly much anymore. And was working for the FBI, and eventually got doing some forensic accounting stuff, where I was doing I got my CPA license and started and became a forensic accountant. And I was working on some, white collar crime investigations and some other things. And there's a guy on my squad, they call them squads, a guy on my squad, he was an FBI agent. He was a former kind of special operations Army guy, and he was really into drones. And he was talking to me about them. And this was probably 2015. And I just started looking at them and got more interested in them. And I don't remember how it came up. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and I can't remember how it came up, but we learned people are using these for business. Like you can fly drones for money. and it wasn't super popular at the time,
Hmm.
but it was starting to ramp up, and some of the drones were getting better. DJI was making these drones that had like these integrated cameras in them, and they're a lot easier to fly because before you would have to like assemble all this stuff. But So I saw, oh, this is cool. So I bought a little $400 drone, which at the time I was like, had to like beg my wife to let me spend $400 to buy a drone.
Right.
And I got it, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But the unique thing was at the time, the FAA was saying, the Federal Aviation Administration, which controls all the airspace, they were saying that you had to have a legit full-on pilot's license to be able to fly drones for money or any type of commercial purpose.
Hmm. Right.
So I thought, well, that's a cool barrier to entry. Like I've got my pilot's license, even though it was like, 8 years ago and I don't really use it that much. I still have it. So I started looking into it, and you had to do all this horrible paperwork process to get, even if you had the pilot's license, you had this horrible paperwork process to get approved. And up until this point, I had always done side businesses, so I had done some kind of accounting consulting, if you will, for startups and different businesses, just because it was kind of fun to make side cash. And the FBI was a cool place to work, but they didn't exactly like, you're not going to get rich working there.
Right.
So it was fun, kind of doing some of these side gigs, and I'd kind of got the bug of like, oh wow, you can, if you do your own business, you can make as much money as you want as long as you're willing to work more. Um, so I was like, well, this is cool. And so at the time I was listening to Pat Flynn a lot, smartpassiveincome.com guy. I'm not sure you're familiar with him, but he's got a good podcast, and I used to listen to that all the time. And, the talk of passive income, and, people were selling ebooks or digital products and all this stuff. And I used to think about that and think, oh man, that would be so cool to be able to do something like that. And up until that point, I had been always doing maybe services, like trading time for money with accounting, consulting, or whatever, or just my regular job. But when I was looking at this paperwork process and I was figuring out how to do it, I thought, you know what? People I bet would pay somebody else to do this. And I looked, and there was a couple other companies that were advertising this type of work. It was called a 333 exemption. So I thought, you know what? I really only need like certain key information from people. And if they give me like, what types of drones they have, like their business information and some other things, I can do this paperwork for them. And so I whipped up I whipped up a real simple Squarespace website. It was a couple pages. There was a form on it that had the pieces that I needed of information, and I had people fill that out. And then I literally manually put it into the document that I had created and submitted their paperwork to the FAA and kind of managed that process for them.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So once I came up with this form, really the only work was taking the order and then plugging their info in and sending it off, and that was it. So I started doing this, and I created a Google AdWords ad. I didn't know anything about AdWords, but I threw up a Google AdWords ad, and I remember when I made my first sale, and I was like, oh, this is so great. I was at work, and I saw my phone like light up, and it was for like $250. The people were paying for this. And then I was like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I made more just sitting here than I did basically probably this whole day sitting at work. So fast forward a little bit, like I started doing that for a couple of months, and then I was quickly making more money from that than I was from my forensic accounting job. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many people that want to be drone pilots. And shortly after I started doing that, the FAA announced, oh, you know what? You don't need this process anymore. You actually now have to get a drone license that we're creating. And to do that, you have to pass a test. And so I thought, oh, shoot, well, people are going to need to know how to pass this test. So I'm going to work on making a test prep course. And so that's where my first online course came in, was this business venture that I was really excited about, lasted all of, 3 months. But I made some decent money doing it, and it allowed me to save some money to, buy some camera equipment and do some production stuff. Now, I'll say looking back, I probably went a little bit overboard on paying for like animations and, editing and all this stuff.
Right.
I could have made it a little bit simpler, but yeah, I started that, and I launched it. I can get into the story of launching it a little bit if you want later, but essentially I worked for probably 6 months creating it and launched it, and it totally flopped, and I was really bummed. And I thought about giving it away for free, but some friends encouraged me to keep going on it and seeing what I could do with it. And yeah, and now it's been, I guess that we launched it back in the fall of 2016. So it's almost been 4 years now. And now to date, that course, I have it here, let's see. That course has done $1.6 million in sales, total sales in the last 4 years, with over 12,000 students in it. So, and the only difference, I mean, it's the same course, just with some updates.
Right.
So it was the difference between our course that I couldn't sell at all and totally flopped, in a course that, basically pays for my living now. The only difference was marketing. And yeah, that was it. So
Cool.
I realized that, and then kind of set out to just try to learn as much as I could about marketing online, and just worked from there. And we've added other courses and stuff since then. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how it started.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll dive deep into these marketing strategies that you learn and have implemented, because how cool of a story that you went out, you created a course, and it wasn't a success at first, and you stuck with it and turned it into $1 million business. And I'm sure people listening out there are going through that struggle right now. And to hear that story is very motivational. And just what a cool way to get into the business. You were finding the needs and you were solving those issues. I hadn't heard of anyone really doing what you were doing, as far as filling out those applications and sending them off. So that in itself seems like a really cool, business adventure. I like that. So you launched this course out. You said you took 6 months to make it, and probably spent too much time on editing and animations, which I think is probably a big thing that we do as course creators. So just talk about that for a minute, because if you could go back to that time, what would you have done differently in the beginning? Would you have focused less on the animations and the editing, and more on something else?
Um, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, yes and no. So for a normal course, I would say, if this was any other course, I would have said, yeah, I went way overboard on the animations, and I probably spent $10,000 to $15,000 creating this course, between buying equipment and paying people to do video editing, and getting people to do animating different explanations and things. Um, the way we're creating courses now is much different. I mean,
Mhm.
essentially, we're kind of doing like a more of a pre-launch method, where we're telling people, hey, here's the course we're going to create. And then they sign up for a beta group, and we do some live calls, and then kind of hone in on exactly what the course content should be, by doing live calls with them. And then we go back and create the nice course. But it actually worked out okay for me on this one, to have gone overboard with some of that, only because other people, since this is a test, and anybody can create a prep course on it, there quickly were other courses out there, going after the same customer, right?
Mhm.
And so it's not like we had anything necessarily that was unique, right? Everybody's promising the same thing. Hey, we're going to help you pass the test, or you get your
Right.
money back. And so the animations, and like since our course happened to be a really high quality experience, that happened to work well for us, because then people were saying, "Oh, I really like your course better. I bought this other course and I ended up getting a refund because it was really crappy, but I like all the explanations and animation stuff." So a couple people have said that, but I think that only benefited us because it became kind of a commoditized product, if you will, right? People
Mhm.
were started competing on price, and there wasn't, everybody had the same course promise. And typically with courses, they're a little bit more unique to you and your skill set. Um, so I would say, I would have put it out a little earlier, if I was going to do it over again. I was waiting for all of these videos to get created, and I was literally writing the scripts word for word, and then I was recording it, and then I was sending it to a video editor, and I was making notes of what animations I wanted,
Mhm.
and then I was writing all the text for the course, like for the descriptions and underneath the videos. And I had planned to do videos for every single lesson, but as I got towards the end of the course, I was like, you know what, these last few things, it was like maintenance on a drone, and it was a couple of things where it was just like what you had to know for the test was pretty small, and I'm like, I don't think I need to create videos for these, or I will create videos for these, but I'm going to go ahead and launch it out now, see if people like it, and then I'll go and I'll add these videos later. I mean, and then to this day, I haven't added those videos because nobody complained about it. Nobody cared. There's videos for all the complicated stuff, and people like that. But I've maybe gotten two or three comments out of 12,000 people that said, "Hey, why aren't there videos for these last, 4 or 5 lessons out of the whatever 50 that are in there?" Um, And I was getting so hung up on there's got to be a video for every lesson, or it's got to be perfect, and I've got to have all this stuff edited and all these animations, you know. So what I should have done is I should have put it out a lot sooner, started making some money with it, and then as that money came in, then I could have refined it and made it look better and some of those things. So yeah, I think the sooner you can get it to people and start getting feedback on it, the better. Because sometimes you just assume people want something, or you assume they want to learn something a certain way, and that might not be the case, you know. So you might
Right.
waste your time. You might waste your time building something out that nobody wants, or you launch it out and the stuff that people really do want, you don't have in there. So yeah, I think it's much more beneficial to get out the like least the least acceptable product out there, at least to like a test group if you can, and then run them through it, get feedback, and then make your final version.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. If I could go take back all the time I spent changing the camera angles or the lighting or moving things, around or
Yeah,
deleting a pixel here or a pixel there. So cool.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, for sure.
you put the course out there, and this was like you said back in 2016, where some of the course platforms were starting to pop up, Thinkific and Teachable. Where did you host this course when you first launched it?
Yeah, I was hunting around. I had no idea what to do. I'm like, how do you even do this? Like, how do you make a course? And I got some people to quote me on like them creating like animated PowerPoint slides hosted in some type of Adobe something. And I'm like, I don't think that's what I want. But then I stumbled upon Teachable,
Okay.
and I went with Teachable. I liked their user interface from the student side the best. I know Teachable and Kajabi are kind of two big ones now. And I still like Teachable's user interface, or like from the student side a little bit better,
Mhm.
which is why I've stuck with them. Even though they have some flaws,
They all do.
but yeah, I've really yeah. So, but I've enjoyed Teachable and I've met all them and stuff. But yeah, I'm still with Teachable now.
Okay, cool. So you put it out there. At this time, back in 2016, when you first put the course up on the platform, did you already have an audience or a community?
No, that's the kicker. That's the thing people take for granted. I thought, oh, well, if I have a course, everybody's just going to buy this from me, obviously. You know what I mean? Because people
Mhm.
need this and they're going to find me somehow magically,
Right.
and they're going to buy my course. And there's another guy who's a competitor of mine. He's a good guy. I mean, we've become kind of friends now, but he had a website, uavcoach.com, and he had been building a community for like 2 years. And he had a blog and an email list, and he launched his course, same kind of course. And in the first 3 months, he had 1,000 students, and he was selling his course for $300 a pop. I'm like, oh my gosh, $300,000, and he's only been at it for 3 months. I'm like, if I just finish this course and get it live, I am going to be rich. I just need to do this, right? And so I discounted his 50,000 person email list, or however big it was at the
Right.
time, and his 2 years of community building, which was the actual work put in that resulted in what he got. Um, and so then I thought, all right, I just need to go quick. So I bought a $1,500 drone, which was the Phantom 4 at the time. And I did a giveaway. I said, all right, guys, we're gonna do a drone giveaway. And I got an email list of about 4,000 or 5,000 people just from giving away that drone. So it was one of those things where you say, hey, sign up for this giveaway, and then they get a share link. And then if
Mhm.
someone else signs up from your link, you get extra bonus points, right? So it
Right.
was one of those things, which, does have their pros and cons. Not everybody signing up for a free drone is going to be a hot lead for you, but because
Right.
people just like free stuff. But so I got 5,000 emails. I think 1,000 of them bounced because I'm sure there was fraud in there. People putting in junk email addresses or whatever. But 1,000 of them bounced. So then I had 4,000 emails, and I sent out an email, and I was like, I'm just going to go for this. I'm going to go for the sale on the first email. And the guy who had built my website at the time, and he knew some about digital marketing, he's like, I don't know if I would do that if I were you. He's like, you might want to send out some emails first, like, explaining who you are and, getting to know people a little bit. I'm like, well, no, if I do that, everybody's just going to unsubscribe. Like,
Right.
I got to go for the sale right away. I got to hit them where it counts, which is, I mean, horrible advice. So, so I did it, and I sent the email out, and I thought, okay, here comes the tsunami of money that I was expecting. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right, if I got 5,000 emails, I had no idea about open rates either. I was like, if about 50% of people open my email, and then another 50% of people buy it, that'll be, whatever X amount of people. And like 10% of people open the email on that one. And I ended up getting 2 sales, and I discounted it all the way from, I think my price at the time was like $300. I discounted it down to $99. 2 people bought it. So I made a $200 launching this course. I thought that was going to like make me rich. And I launched it. I made $200 after like whatever, 6 months and 10 or 15 grand of investment. And I was like, oh man, this sucks. Um, so that's where I was for a little while. And then I had to kind of pick myself up off the floor and figure out how to move forward from there.
Yeah, it's funny. I've done that math with my wife so many times. Like, if I can just get 7,800 people on my list and I get a 25% conversion, and and you go through all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
numbers, like I'm gonna make millions off of this.
yeah.
And then you make two sales and you're like, oh wow, that's a little demotivating. Hello, course creators. Are you struggling with marketing and selling your online course? If so, then head over to our free community where successful course creators are ready to help you create, market, and sell your expertise. Go to onlinecourseigniter.com/community now to join. That's onlinecourseigniter.com/community. So it's good because you said you had some people in your corner to pick you up and say, "Hey, don't give up. Keep at it. Keep going." So what were your next steps after that? Was it like, okay, I understand now that I need to have a list and an audience, and that's what you began working on, or how did that go?
Yeah, I started digging into some. I'm like, all right, well, I think I have a good course here, and this will help people, and it's like does the job of helping you pass the test, right? And it's good quality. And I actually recruited some other instructors. I met these guys at a conference. One of them was a former Air Force colonel who was in charge of all weather programs for the Air Force, United
Oh
States Air
wow.
Force. And I know, I was like, he's like big dog, and like I emailed him like praying, like, please let him say yes. And I basically pitched him like, hey, will you help me? Will you appear in my course? I'll write all the content in your scripts. You just look at them, you edit the script, and then you record the content. So I'm basically just like trying to leverage his authority. I did
Mhm.
the same thing with another like drone attorney. These guys were two older guys, like full grown, had grown kids, right? And I'm this 20 something year old kid trying to figure out how to do this. And they were nice enough to both say yes, like, hey, yeah, we're trying to get into the drone space too. This was like 2016. We're trying to get into the drone space too. Yeah, we'd be happy to. And I tried to make it as easy as possible for them. So, but they were nice enough to say yes, and they did it. And I mean, they did it for free. I mean, I think I bought them lunch and gave them as much kudos and thanks as I could, and linked to their stuff or whatever else I could do. But I was basically out of money at this point. Um, so that helped on the credibility side. But I was like, I'm not making any sales, so I got to figure out what to do. So I started really digging into marketing. Like, all right, how should I do marketing for this? Because I thought I just build it and throw it up and it works, but that's not the case. So, so I remember sending out an email to the smartest business people I know, a couple guys from my church, my cousin, a few others, and I sent them this long email. I remember I was sitting at a conference for some accounting stuff. I was refreshing my CPA license or something, and I sent them this email like, "Hey guys, here's what I've tried. It didn't work very well. Should I just basically use this course as like the world's greatest lead magnet and figure out how to make other courses? Or should I still try to sell this course, or should I just fold the towel altogether? What do you think?" And a couple of them asked, some intelligent questions. And I remember this one guy, he stuck out, one of my friends, he's like, you know what, don't give up. Don't give up just yet. Just like keep going. You've tried it, it worked. Like, I still think there's a lot of potential here. Just give it, keep giving it more shots before you totally, change strategies or fold. So,
Right.
all right. So then I switched to, I knew I needed to build an email list, but and I tried some paid advertising, some Google AdWords, because that had worked for me before when I did the 333 exemption application stuff. So I thought, well, I'll just do some Google ads. So I started throwing those up. And man, those weren't converting like I wanted. I was taking $200 in ad spend to get one sale, and I think I was, selling it for discounted for a little over $200 or something like that. It wasn't much, and so I got scared about that. I'm like, I feel like I'm not profitable with that. So I turned that off. And then I said, you know what? I just need to find people who have access to the audience that I want, right? So I started reaching out to like these like associations of like National Roofing Association and different industries that might be interested in using drones, and trying to make deals with them to say like, hey, if you offer this to your people with a discount, I'll give you a cut and some of this. But I had limited success there because people were kind of skeptical and drones were new, and they're like, I don't know what this is. So I found I had some success with blogs though. There were a couple popular drone blogs that ranked really well SEO wise. So when you typed in FAA drone test, right? There's this one girl's website that pops up. Still to this day, she does really good with SEO. Sally French, she had a website called thedronegirl.com. So I sent her an email. Hey, Sally, she promoted this other guy's course, other guy I mentioned before. I said, hey, Sally, I see that you already, you promote Alan's course, and that's great. I'm just curious if you had any interest in promoting mine. It's a little different. We have different instructors. I tried to kind of differentiate it a little bit, not trying to dog on his or anything. I mean, his is a good course. But just say, hey, it's a little different. If you'd like to promote mine too, I would love that. I'll give you, I think I was offering her 20 or 30% commission at the time, which if I was going to do it again, I'd make it way higher to give them more incentive to sell it. And she said yes. And I was like, what? She said yes. So I gave her some affiliate links that I, whipped up from Teachable, because you can generate those automatically. She put on her course, and then lo and behold, in the fall, a couple, some sales were coming in here, some sales were coming in there. It was, $1,000 one month, $2,000 the other month, $3,000. So I was making in the low thousands, and I was paying her, 20 or 30%. So I was making a couple $1,000s a month in profit from it. And that gave me some extra money and leverage to start trying out some other strategies. And then I moved, and that was building my email list too, because when people would join that course and they could get on my email list, I didn't have anything else to offer at the time. And then I kind of moved from that and used that money and started kind of testing out some paid ads again on Google AdWords. And for some reason, I was just able to get it to work better, the Google ads, towards the spring of 2017. And it started to take off. I mean, there's more stories in there. And then I screwed up the Google ads, and I turned them to where they weren't profitable, and then had to get somebody else to come help me. And that guy still runs my paid ads today.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
I first want to take a pause for a minute and just focus on the strategy that you talked about, because not many people talk about this too often. And I heard this strategy that you mentioned that worked for you at a conference. And the guy was talking about leveraging other people's audiences. And he even talked about finding sites where people are advertising similar products to your own, and then reaching out to those websites and seeing if you can also advertise. Because the people who are blogging and advertising, they just want to make some money themselves. They don't care whose product, really, that they're, as long as it's not like going to tarnish their name. They don't really are concerned with what they're advertising. So I think that that's a really, really cool strategy that is underutilized and not often looked at, that I've thought about myself sometimes, is going and finding out the leaders in your industry and seeing if they have a blog or a podcast, and then just working with them and seeing if they'll promote your product. So I think that was a very smart move on your part. Now, when you did that, did you have a website at this time, or were you just sending people to the Teachable school?
No, I did have a website. I'd used that money that I'd saved it before, and I'd paid somebody to build me a WordPress website. It was pretty decent, but it was all focused around that main prep course. So I did have a website, and I had connected it to my Teachable school. So the courses are on Teachable, and the sales pages were on Teachable, but like the About Us and the homepage and stuff like that, we're on a WordPress site.
And then you were collecting the emails from that site also?
Yeah, and then I collected the emails, and I think I was using MailChimp at the beginning. I use ActiveCampaign now, but I was using MailChimp at the beginning just to kind of, and integrated it with, I think, Zapier.
Yep.
But
Was it,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, was it just a hey, sign up for my newsletter, or did you have some type of offer, bribe, or lead magnet?
I see what you're saying. No, I was collecting emails purely like people that were signing up for my course were going onto my email list. Gotcha. I was not making a good effort to build an email list.
Gotcha. You just a side thing for having the course. People are signing up, and you're getting their emails, but you're still not nurturing or warming them up at this point.
Correct. We do that now, but back then I wasn't focused on it. But real quick, I wanted to touch on the affiliate strategy thing. I think you're very right in that not a lot of people talk about this. It doesn't maybe sound like as sexy as like run a webinar and do some paid ads, but especially at the beginning, if you don't have a lot of money. I mean, my problem was I kind of ran out of money to like play around with paid ads, because if you don't have an extra, I can't afford to like burn $1,000 on ads that aren't working. I couldn't at that point, and so I was kind of forced to do it. And I even tried to hire some people on Upwork that were like salespeople to like, all right, listen, you're going to reach out to these companies, you're going to get them to work with us and promote our stuff to their members, and then you'll get a cut, and then that company will get a cut. But not many people on Upwork wanted to work for commission only for an unproven business. So I didn't have much luck with that. But yeah, if I were doing it over again, I mean, this is this has worked well for me and worked well for other people that I've talked to them about this. You know, if you're trying to figure out how to promote your stuff, like you said, go to Google, type in whatever your ideal customer would type in. So for me, it was like drone test prep, and just start typing in all these things, and then look what websites pop up. You know, if the website is a competitor, obviously they're probably not going to be super thrilled about promoting you, so it's not really worth it. But if they're a blog, blogs only make money in a very narrow amount of ways. They either sell advertising space, so like banners and things like
Mhm.
that, or at Google AdSense, or they're affiliates for products, unless they have their own products. So, and that's it, right? So they need you to survive.
Mhm.
So that's what I found out, just like you're saying, and we found more affiliates this way too. But yeah, I mean, just do that, and you can easily find people that will promote your stuff. And it's the easiest if you can find the blogs that are kind of like run by individuals.
Yeah.
We've tried to reach out to bigger companies, but as soon as you get multiple employees in there, and it's hard to reach out to the right person,
Right.
and it gets a little more complicated. But if it's like, oh, Sally runs this blog, you just reach out to Sally and say, hey, can I make you an affiliate? And usually I give them access to the material, and they can check it out to make sure it's good, because they like you said, they want to protect their reputation. But for sure, that's a great strategy. And that, real quick, that affiliate Sally, she still promotes for us, and she's
Oh, nice.
sold over $100,000 for the courses in the last 4 years for us.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. See, I actually I don't know if people know this about me, but I've run niche websites, which are just very small blogs cater to a very certain niche. And like you said, the only way that I make money is either through like Amazon associate sales or advertising. And if someone came up to me in my niche and said, "Hey, would you change out your AdSense ad for this and you'll make 50% of a $300 sale," I would jump all over that in a second, because
right.
I'm going to make so much more money as the blog owner with that commission than I will through AdSense or through Amazon Associates. So I think that's just a really brilliant strategy, and I really like it, and I think more people should consider that. So thank you for that. So once you get kind of the ball rolling, you got some sales coming in, you have your website. What was the next step to take you up to the next level? Where did you go from there?
Yeah, so I was doing a couple $1,000s a month in sales, and like I said, I had some money, so I started messing around with Google Ads again, and I don't know what happened. I just set up some ads and just tried them out again, and then they were working. I mean, they weren't like insanely profitable, but I was at least getting like about a 2-to-1 return, maybe a little less than that. So I'd spend $100 and I'd make $200. And I thought, well, shoot, I'll just do this all day.
Now, real
So I
quick,
started.
was this an ad? I'm sorry, just
Nope,
going
you're good.
straight from the ad to your course?
Yeah, this was straight to the landing page.
Okay, cool.
So I had
Part
also
part time.
reduced the price a little bit too, because I had gotten some feedback from people saying, "This price is way too high." So I thought, well, maybe I'll try a lower price. The other guy was still at 300. I think I dropped mine to like 179 or something like that, and then discounted it to like 129. So I tried that out, and then started running ads, and that seemed to convert better. And I was just doing Google search ads. So when someone's searching for drone test or anything related to some of my keywords, my ad would pop up, um, you know, and they'd click it and they'd go straight to the landing page. And it was just a teachable landing page. It wasn't anything super special. And it started working. And so I did that for several months. And, I think went from a couple $1,000s a month in sales to, you know, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome. But then in July of 2017, I did $12,000 in sales from Google Ads, and I was like, "Sweet! How much did I spend on my advertising for Google?" And I went and looked into the Google dashboard, and it was $15,000. So I was like, "Huh, this is not how I want this to go." Um, so I turned it off, and ended up I was in this group, this little like online business kind of coaching group to help new business owners like have resources and people to bounce things off of, and it was very helpful. But they connected me to this guy. She said, "Hey, here's two people I know that do Facebook and Google ads. You can talk to them." So I talked to him. Ended up going with the guy that I just kind of got along with better. And he looked at my stuff and said, "Yeah, oh, we can definitely fix some stuff in here." And so he went in and he fixed it up, and he's been running my ads for the last 3 years now. And he operates on a kind of a percentage of profit type of relationship. So if I don't make money, he doesn't make money. If
Nice.
I make a lot of money, he makes a lot of money. So it's been great. And he's scaled that up, and moved into, Facebook ads, Instagram, YouTube, and trying different things, different courses now.
Now,
But yeah,
I know a lot of people listening may have tried ads before, and sending ads to a landing page can be kind of difficult, to get that
yes,
to convert. So if you could just take a quick moment and just what is like one good tip that you could give someone about either the ad, the copy, or the landing page? How are you getting someone to watch an ad, click on it, go to a landing page, and purchase? I mean that's a big leap from cold traffic.
yeah. Well, it's unique to that offer. So we've tried that same strategy with other courses and it doesn't work. So the reason that it works for this is because it's a need that people already know they have before they ever come into contact with our company, right? They do a little bit of research and they find, oh, if I want to have a drone business or if I
Mm,
want to make money with drones, I have to have this license. And so then they go out searching for, hey, how do I get this license? And when they search it, they see our ad that says, hey, pass the test, get your license, or we'll give you your money back. I mean, it's just kind of like it's just a compelling offer for a thing that they already have to have. It's not like an optional thing, right? They
right.
have to have it if they want to do their thing, right? Our other courses that we have courses on, drone cinematography and video stuff, drone photography, roof inspections, things like that, right? Those are more people don't have to have those, right? They
Right.
think I can go watch on YouTube or I can do this, I can do that. So they're not like concrete requirements. So I think the promise is good, right? Like we're promising now. We even changed it to say, hey, if you don't pass our course, we'll refund you what you paid us, and we'll pay you $150 to go take the test again because that's the testing fee. So we lose money if they fail. Um, but we did that after we were like sure people were gonna pass.
That's a good
Um,
guarantee, though. I mean, if someone sees
yeah,
that, why would they not purchase, you know?
right, right. I think I read a book. It's called I think I have it over here. It's like getting everything you can out of all you've got, or maybe I mixed that up, but it's it's a great book on marketing where they talk about your beyond risk free guarantee. You know what I mean? So we tried to do that, and that's worked well. So I think that's a little bit more of a unique situation going straight from the
Mhm.
ad to the landing page. For our other stuff, we do lead magnets, and most of our other sales come through either webinars or we'll get people on our email list through a freebie, and then 6 months later we'll run a promo for one of our other courses, and after reading a series of emails and kind of educating them more, then they decide to buy. And that's more typical of our other courses that aren't like test prep where you have to check that box if you want to have a business in drones.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The person who's taken that course is further down the road and they're looking to, get be able to get this license. So they are, much more further down the road than someone who just wants to learn how to fly a drone for the fun of it. So that's
Right.
definitely cool. So now you say you've got, lead magnets and webinars. So just real quick, how does that system look? Do you try just different things, or do you have a certain way that you do it? You send someone to a lead magnet, then to a webinar, then to your course. Are you launching? Is it evergreen? Just explain a little bit of that back end strategy that you have set up now for the other courses.
Yeah. So for the other courses, so there's a guy I partnered with, Alex Harris. He's actually the one. When I was trying to create the original course, he had this little $20 course on, hey, here's how to just record yourself talking into a camera, right? And I was like, I need this because I have no idea what I'm doing. So I bought his $20 course, and then I went to do the editing section, and I was like, wow, this sucks and takes forever. So I contacted him. I said, hey, do you want to edit my course for me? I'll pay you. And he said, sure. So we struck up a friendship after that, and he got into drones, and he had a background in kind of like Hollywood editing and all this stuff. So he was really good. So fast forward, like, I don't know, 2 years later, a year later, he created a drone like videography and cinematography course, and then a drone photography course. So he created that with us. Those did okay at first. Then they kind of like flopped a little bit. And I was focused more on the Part 107 stuff. And like anything, right? They were good courses. They just needed more like marketing juice. And I was still focused on Part 107. And Alex said, hey, David, we worked out a deal where he said, listen, if you can, will you let me try out some of my own marketing? And we'll see how dude does, and I'll get a higher percentage if it comes in through my marketing. I said, sure, knock yourself out. And so he went and he really dug in and learned how to do webinars really well, and learned all that stuff. So he started running his own webinars to those courses. And so there's kind of like almost like two marketing things going on at once. So he's got his webinars running to his main kind of aerial video course. He does really well with that, and he gets most of that revenue if a sale comes in that way. And then we have, we kind of cross promote all of those courses within our test prep course. So if you're, if you buy one course, you get a discount on the other courses. And then twice a year, we run discounts to each of those other courses through our email list. So we kind of come up with a schedule for the year and say, okay, cool. And this month we're going to promote this. So typically we'll do like a drone giveaway, some type of contest or something to kind of engage people and get them kind of paying attention to their emails a little bit more. And then once they're kind of paying attention, we'll send out some other emails on try to tell some stories of people that have either used the course or have learned what the course is going to teach and kind of illustrate how that's going to help them get to where they want, right? So we use the example of like, hey, having a drone doesn't make you a good drone pilot, right? Like having a drone is just like saying you can go to the grocery store and buy some chicken and now you're a world-class chef.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's like, it's just a tool. You have to learn how to use it and you have to do that if you really want to get high-end paying clients. So we kind of try to teach people that and kind of illustrate that point, show them through the email. And then we offer, oh, hey, well, you're in luck because now for the next 3 days, we're offering half off on this course. And we only do this twice a year. So if you want it, jump in now. And so we make a good number of sales that way, just from the email list. And then, so that's kind of on the other courses side. And we've actually started doing lead magnets for the test prep course as well. We did a free study guide. So actually got this idea from Pat Flynn. So I ended up actually, 2 years ago, applying and getting into Pat's 1-year accelerator program. So me and about 10 other businesses got to spend about a year with him and learning things. And that was super valuable. And he was like, Dave, because Pat Flynn started off with the test prep stuff too, with like architecture.
Yeah,
so he's like,
right.
you have a course, you have to have a free practice test. I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Okay, whatever. So I developed like a free practice test and we started running that as an ad. Hey, just download this free practice test. And so people would do that. And then we help them work through that practice test and teach them some of the answers. And it kind of illustrates, hey, this test is hard. You need help. And it kind of also shows, hey, we know what we're talking about. And so we send them some emails and try to get them to sign up that way. So that's been a really big email list booster. And some people, they get the practice tests and they don't buy our course, but then maybe they'll buy a different course from us down the road. So that's kind of one of the main things we have running now is that practice test. And that's actually what you see on our homepage on our website too.
That looks
that
nice
practice
too.
test. But we run that as an ad as well.
I like that image too. That image is just captivating. I mean, I don't even need to go learn how to do a drone, but I just wanted to go download that book because it looked neat.
Thanks.
But David, you've just been a wealth of information, and I feel like we could just go down so many rabbit holes. So I'm going to have to get you back on the podcast and deep dive into some of these other processes you're talking about. But someone out there listening right now just launched a course and it flopped and they didn't make any sales. It didn't do what they thought they were going to do. What would you say to that person?
First off, definitely don't get too discouraged and give up because, like I said, the difference between $1 million course and a totally failed course is a lot of times just marketing or positioning. But I would try to, if they do have any type of audience, I think the biggest thing in having a successful course is just really, really understanding and knowing what people want and what they want to learn and what their real problems are. So I don't know exactly what, industry or niche they might be in, but one of the things we do now is we do tons of surveys. I get on calls with people on our email list just to really, and I look through our Facebook groups. The more you can understand what people are griping about and what people's hard parts are, the better idea you're going to have for what to target your course around. Because if you make your course around something nobody cares about, then it is going to be impossible to sell. But you just have to stick with it. Make sure you're teaching people what they want to know on a course. And then even when you do have that, you got to make sure that you're communicating that in an effective way. You can't just send one email and expect everybody to come out of the woodwork and buy. You have to teach people. You have to tell them, why should you care about this? How is this going to help you? Like, tell them about the process you used to come up with this and how you discovered it and all that, So I think that's really important. But just don't get too discouraged and stick with it.
Awesome. That's very well said. Where do you see yourself in the next couple of years? Where would you like to take this business?
Oh man, good question. I don't know. Right now, we're really focusing on teaching people how to start drone businesses now. So we have all these people who have gotten a license and they know some drone skills. So we're really focusing on, hey, how do you actually run a drone service business? And so we actually just launched a course called Drone to 1K. We have the beta group going right now. That's been pretty successful with the people that are in there so far, and they're enjoying it. So I think if we can get this dialed in, I'm hoping this will be kind of our the next phase for our company is focusing on helping people start drone businesses and profitable drone businesses.
Yeah, that's brilliant because you're guiding them along the next logical step, right? Like
Yeah,
you've got them their license and now they're ready to go and they say, "Okay, I got my license. What do I do now?" And you come along and say, "Well, why don't you start your own business? I can show you how to do that." So, but awesome. Cool, David. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We appreciate your time and just being here and sharing all this great advice. Where can people find out more about you online if they want to come check out what you're doing?
Yeah. If you just want to follow my ramblings and thoughts, I use them on Instagram. It's just davidyoung.xyz. Or you can go to our website is dronelaunchacademy.com if you want to see more of the company stuff. And on my Instagram, I try to post some kind of behind the scenes stuff of, as I'm doing things or launching things. And, but yeah, so I would say either Instagram or just our website.
Perfect. Thanks, David, for coming on the show today. We appreciate you and appreciate your time coming on and helping out.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for joining us today, David. You can find out more about him and his business by visiting dronelaunchacademy.com. Or you can get the show notes of this episode along with links and resources by visiting onlinecourseigniter.com/14. See you next week for an all-new episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Online Course Igniter podcast. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening so that you don't miss an episode. If you would like to learn more marketing strategies and how to sell your online course, then also check out our free community where we share tips, tricks, and tutorials at onlinecourseigniter.com/community.